Hi there, welcome to Switch Mania. I am Clarence and today we'll talk about the best Nintendo Switch games on sale. We will be covering the UK, EU, US, Australia, and Canada eShop. But first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see more of this series, please leave a like. Remember to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to receive future notifications. Likes and subscriptions help keep the channel alive. First on our list is The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 3. Trails of Cold Steel 3 is a must-play for anyone who has played or read the first two games in the series. Everyone who enjoys RPGs will enjoy this ode to the genre. Cold Steel 3 is fantastic in a variety of ways. It has intriguing side quests, a fun combat system, and a story that transforms what could have been a mundane routine into something extraordinary. Despite its flaws, this is a must-have Switch title because it can be played anywhere and is a lengthy RPG. The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 3 on Switch is a good rendition of a great RPG. The Cold Steel series should be accessible to as many people as possible as a result of this Nintendo Switch port. Next is The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 4. The content in The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 4 is massive. It's a lot of fun and gives back a lot. Fans of JRPGs will be engrossed by its deep story, numerous characters, and battle system, which offers an insane number of ways to change how you fight. Cold Steel 4 retains all of the major plot points from its predecessor, which is both a good and a bad thing. It also brings the Arabonia story for the Trails series to a close. This is one of the best modern RPGs, and the fact that it can be played on the Switch only adds to its appeal. The Trails of Cold Steel saga has evolved into an important part of the JRPG genre. As is customary, the final chapter of the series concludes in a smart, rich, and humorous manner. Next up, Saviors of Sapphire Wings / Stranger of Sword City Revisited. Overall, Saviors of Sapphire Wings and Stranger of Sword City Revisited make an excellent pair that dungeon crawler fans will enjoy. I like how Sapphire Wings isn't too difficult and instead focuses on the story. It's a good way to warm up before tackling Stranger of Sword City, which is much more difficult. I'm glad that Experience Incorporate its Western partner, NISA, recognizes the value of bringing these niche games to a Western audience, and the fact that these games can be played on the go is a plus for the genre. From an economic standpoint, you're getting two full-length, long games for the price of one, and if you buy this one, you'll be content dungeon crawling for weeks and weeks. Next is Teslagrad. Fans of puzzle platformer games will not want to pass up the opportunity to play Teslagrad. Even if you dislike Metroidvanias, it was difficult to get me to sleep. Because the game was too exciting to stop and go to sleep, I stayed up until 2 AM to finish it. It was a great way to end a great game. If you're new to the independent scene, this is the game to get you started. Teslagrad is one of the best Nintendo Switch games if you care about games as art, want to play a puzzle platformer or semi-Metroidvania, or simply want to try something new after finishing Doom, Mario Odyssey, or Xenoblade Chronicles. Next up, It Takes Two. On the Nintendo Switch, It Takes Two gets its most complete and user-friendly version yet. The game can now be played in new languages and taken with you wherever you go. So, despite the fact that the graphics aren't as good as they could be, I am still pleased with what could be one of the best multiplayer games ever created. It Takes Two can bring two people together and make them feel a variety of emotions. It accomplishes this by telling a beautiful story of love and heartbreak in an easy-to-understand and humorous manner. Hazelight demonstrated that they could handle all of the console's technical challenges by creating an excellent version of the game. Next is Valkyria Chronicles. There aren't many games that are a better buy than Valkyria Chronicles, and the Switch port's quality makes it a must-buy for anyone interested in the series or looking to add it to their Switch library. The only thing that elevates an SRPG is the ability to take it with you and play it on the bus or at a family event. Since the Switch has received a slew of good strategy games, making it tempting to skip Valkyria Chronicles. However, do not do it. It's a fast-paced game, and I'd like to see some parts, such as the Graveyard for Fallen Soldiers, return in future games. Even though war is hell, Valkyria Chronicles is a little piece of heaven. Next up, Valkyria Chronicles 4. Valkyria Chronicles is a hugely popular series, so Sega did an excellent job with the fourth installment. Even more impressive was its willingness to admit that the fans did not want Revolution's experimental structure and returned to the original formula. It's difficult to do a beloved thing justice, but the only flaw in Valkyria Chronicles 4 is that it's not quite Valkyria Chronicles, so that's exactly what this game does. Sega has made a fantastic addition to the long-running series that is enjoyable, has all of the features, and looks fantastic. Valkyria Chronicles was released at a time when it should have been difficult for a game to gain traction. Sega, on the other hand, has demonstrated that this dark horse has many bright years ahead of it. Next up, Huntdown. Huntdown harkens back to the days of run-and-gun arcade shooters. It is well made and has excellent details. The 16-bit style is perfectly recreated, and the game has a lot of modern bells and whistles, such as a great soundtrack and sound design, a CRT filter that you can turn on or off, and a plethora of powerful weapons that your bounty hunter can use to destroy the environment and enemies as they progress from one great boss fight to the next. Despite the fact that the level flow is fairly repetitive, the game's moment-to-moment gameplay, the overall fun that comes from the amount of carnage you can cause, the surprising amount of cheesy spoken dialogue, and the constant pop culture references make this an easy recommendation and another great action game for the Switch. Cupid Parasite. Cupid Parasite is a lengthy game with a lengthy main path and frequently equally lengthy paths for each suitor. Because there are 5 suitors to begin with and a secret character route after you've completed the others, there is a lot of replayability here. There are also a variety of possible outcomes. If you enjoy rom-coms, you should watch this one because it has a lot of energy, likable characters, and well-written romances. If nothing else, Cupid Parasite knows how to entertain its audience. I haven't played a visual novel in a long time that makes me as happy as this one. It's difficult to do comedy right, especially when there's a subversive element involved, but Cupid Parasite never disappoints. It tells a great story and backs it up with great style and verve in between the funny parts. This is one of OKAMI's best works. Next up, Umurangi Generation Special Edition. Umurangi Generation is known for their ability to make contradictions work in their favor. It's a fun adventure as well as a painful trap. It's lively, bright, and empowering, but it's also dark, suffocating, and crippling. It has the potential to change your life because of the way it combines disparate elements. It has permanently altered my perception of the real world and video games. Umurangi Generation Special Edition is a thrilling journey through a crumbling world. It's a one-of-a-kind gaming experience that will stick with you long after you've put it down, and the included DLC and Switch improvements make it even better. Next is Into the Breach. Into the Breach is a brutal, no-holds-barred game in which you must make difficult decisions and live with the consequences. However, the short length of battles and limitless ways to play make it a highly addictive experience. Despite the lackluster graphics, the gameplay is some of the best strategy you'll find on the Switch, and I'd recommend it to anyone looking for a deep game that will make them think. Into the Breach works well on the Switch, and whether you prefer to play at home or on the go, you'll get a lot of mileage out of this release. Next up, What the Dub? What the Dub is a fun party game that allows everyone to show off their sense of humor. It's clear where the game got its ideas from, but that doesn't matter because there's plenty of room for games with new ideas. Even though there isn't much variety, the low price compensates. What the Dub is a fun game to play with friends, even if you play it online. What the Dub is a great little party game in the style of the Jackbox games, and it will be played a lot at my house because I like it so much. Next is Wilmot's Warehouse. It's a lovely game that turns organization into a game in such a way that some people, including myself, regard it as more pleasant than crazy. The order you need to do well with Wilmot can quickly turn into chaos, which keeps me from recommending this to everyone wholeheartedly. Wilmot's Warehouse is a unique puzzle game for your Switch if you enjoy putting things in order and creating your own patterns. Wilmot's Warehouse is a game about sorting and categorizing items. It will put your spatial awareness and pattern recognition skills to the test while also making you feel smart. Next up, Night in the Woods. Night in the Woods is a one-of-a-kind game that every Switch owner should play. It's unique, but it ranks among the best games on the platform so far. Some of the best and most natural dialogue I've ever seen in a game. Night in the Woods transports us to a world of turbulent pasts, uncertain futures, and a young girl lost in the present. It's difficult to find another game that is both so close and so personal, playing and experimenting with the medium story limits. Because of its art style, music, characters, and story, it is a must-have for the Nintendo Switch. Next is one of my favorites, Owlboy. Owlboy arrives on the Nintendo Switch with the promise of making us fly like owl wings. Fly through his world's skies to discover a mysterious story full of emotions, memorable travel companions, impressive graphics, and a soundtrack that will make you feel free, despite some minor flaws. Owlboy is a stunning work of art with stunning visuals, a fantastic soundtrack, and a well-thought-out story. Owlboy may not last as long as you'd expect for a game of this type, but it has a lot of other strong points that set it apart because of the passion its creators put into it. Next is Endling Extinction is Forever. Endling Extinction is Forever is a formidable title. It demonstrates how humans are greedy, corrupt, and have a unique method of destroying the environment. It also has small signs of hope and redemption that shine through the growing darkness. The game's main character, a traumatized fox, goes through a lot of difficult times that will break your heart while also making you angry and sad. This type of sad anger is intended to be a powerful motivator, so use it. Endling Extinction is a Metroidvania-style adventure game. It has excellent audio-visual qualities as well as an important message about how we treat animals and our planet's future. In short, RABBIDS Studios' first game was excellent and left a favorable impression on us. Next up, Retro City Rampage DX. Even though it was created in 2010 and contains pop culture references from that year, it still holds up very well because pixels this stylish and action this crazy never go out of style. Retro City Rampage DX is still a chaotic, almost overwhelming game that overwhelms the senses while also playing very well. It has what you need whether you play it for the crazy story, the over-the-top violence in a retro style, or a combination of the two. Retro City Rampage DX has a lot to offer even if you don't like pixel art or think you know everything there is to know about pop culture. You can explore every corner of Theftropolis while progressing through the main 5 to 6 hour story stages at your own pace. There are numerous customization options, add-ons, mini-games, vehicles, and weapons to experiment with. A satisfying and enjoyable sandbox game with a retro theme that will appeal to fans of the 8-bit era as well as open-world adventure games. Next up, Rogue Legacy 2. Rogue Legacy 2 is, for lack of a better word, a banger. Even though it isn't a game changer, it expands on what was great about the first and makes it bigger and better. Even after defeating the bosses, you haven't seen half of what this game has to offer, thanks to the extensive new Game Plus mode and the massive amount of content available across all classes and options. You can't miss this game if you like the first Rogue Legacy or if you've never played it but like roguelikes. Rogue Legacy 2 feels a little too familiar at times, but it is better and more well-rounded in many ways than its predecessor. There are already a lot of great games like this on the Nintendo Switch, so you might not be drawn to this one right away because it lacks any exciting new features. Those who give it a chance, however, will discover a level of depth not present in the first game. Next is Unpacking. Unpacking is an excellent way to accomplish multiple tasks at once. It tells a moving story through interactions, has the creative play space of a great dollhouse game, and employs well-known game design ideas from very different genres. Its only real flaw is that it repeats itself, which is necessary for conveying its message. The Switch controls have been improved to feel more natural, and the game looks and sounds fantastic. This elevates Unpacking to the level of any sane person's cutlery. However, as I previously stated, the cool puzzles are only the beginning of what makes this such an incredible, unforgettable experience. Unpacking would be worth playing even if it were just a clever game about unloading boxes, but what truly elevates it is how the puzzles are woven into a lovely story. Next up, Infernax. Playing Infernax is simply enjoyable. The mechanics are sound, and the fundamentals are executed correctly. You don't have a lot of attacks and moves to choose from, but what you do have is effective against the enemies you'll encounter. When I was wandering around the mysterious world of Simon's Quest, I felt like I was back in my childhood. This was especially true in the countryside, which had both day and night. People who enjoy 2D platformers that allow them to explore and aren't afraid of games with a bit of bite should play Infernax right away. Infernax is everything I want in an 8-bit platformer set in the past. It sounds and looks great, and it has interesting bosses and challenging gameplay. If that's your thing, don't put it off any longer. It's beautiful. Next is Crawl. Crawl is another fantastic Switch game developed in Australia. Crawl is a dungeon crawler that is unlike most others. It's also one of the best multiplayer games on Nintendo's Behemoth, which never stops moving, let alone crawling. There are numerous ways to have fun with your friends, and there are plenty of single-player options to keep you entertained. I like Crawl a lot, as you might have guessed, and I'd bet all our gold and wrath that you do too. It's a lot of fun in single-player because the AI is constantly chasing you, but it's even more fun when you and 3 friends are all fighting for XP and that all-important killing blow. This is the best couch game on the Switch. Next up, Penko Park. Penko Park feels like a cross between Pokemon Snap and Amanita design, and it has its own distinct charm that will keep you coming back for more as you near the end. Even though it may appear repetitive at first, the developers have done an excellent job of rewarding you with unlocks as you travel from location to location looking for secrets, photographing the various creatures in various poses, and filling up your guidebook. Penko Park is not long, but it is pleasant. Despite the fact that it's not a long game, you can finish it in about 3 hours, or twice that if you want to do everything packed it's with characters and atmosphere. If you want to see a cute, independent take on the Pokemon Snap formula, you can't go wrong with a visit to Penko Park. Next is 2 Point Campus. 2 Point Campus, a near-perfect copy of the management game genre, gives it a new look. It has an amazing two-phase game system that allows you to have the best of both worlds. A game where you can build without stress or difficulty, and a game where you can enjoy looking at what you've created. If this time of year is less busy than the summer, you can appreciate how well the atmosphere, activities, and personalization of your campus have been done. The game is amusing and avoids the genre's typical repetition because it has powerful building tools and scenarios that know how to change up the way they look and how you play them. Next up, Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation is a survival horror masterpiece and one of the best horror games ever made. It's a tense experience, a slow, methodical game of cat and mouse against a brilliantly clever recreation of one of cinema's most famous killers, but if you're up for it, you'll find one of the genre's most satisfying gameplay experiences, a brilliant and beautiful homage to one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. Feral Interactive did an excellent job porting this game to the Nintendo Switch, and the fact that it has excellent motion controls and all of the previously released DLC only adds to its appeal. Fans of survival horror should be aware of these facts. Next is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. When Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is released, it begins with a spark. The first game's gameplay and performance have been changed and improved. 3 new heroes have been added to the game, including a rabbit named Edge who is not from the Mushroom Kingdom. Each character has entirely new weapons and special abilities that are unique to that character. Oh, and there were a lot of sparks. This game provides new tactical possibilities for all types of gamers. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is great and fun, with just the right amount of chaos, thanks to the Rabbids touch. I can't think of a single time when I was bored or didn't understand what was going on because the people who made the game spent as much time and care on the jokes as they did on the gameplay. This is an excellent way for people of all ages to become acquainted with the tactics genre, and it demonstrates how unique and beautiful collaborations can be. Next up, the Jackbox Party Pack 3. The Jackbox Party Pack 3 is a fantastic collection of party-friendly games. It's even better now that you can bring the party with you wherever you go thanks to the Switch. Overall, the Jackbox Party Pack 3 is a nice little collection of party games that can be played with 2 or more friends who have their own web browser. It's never been easier to play with friends thanks to the Switch's portability. Some of the games are better than others, and the control scheme is different, but the Jackbox Party Pack 3 is a great addition to your Switch library if you enjoy party games. Next is Dungeon Encounters. Dungeon Encounters is one of my favorite games because it is always addicting and interesting. Ito, Kato, and Uematsu are a dream team who contribute significantly to this being the best roguelite experience of the year. Even if the simplicity of its appearance turns you off, it's well worth getting past that to see the genius and wonder it has to offer. The writing is very clear and polished. The puzzles are clever and entertaining, and they force me to use parts of my brain that I haven't used in years. The ATB combat system has returned, and it is better than ever. This has layers upon layers of depth. Magic abounds in Dungeon Encounters. I just hope that people will make time in their busy schedules to try out this game. You'll have a great time if you do. Next is Trine 4, The Nightmare Prince. Trine 4 The Nightmare Prince is without a doubt one of the best puzzle platformer games ever created. It has a lot of charm, is entertaining to play, and has some decent puzzles. Combat leaves a lot to be desired, and can be unbearable at times, but it's a small price to pay for how amazing the rest of the game is. With Trine 4 The Nightmare Prince, Frozenbyte has taken the series back to its roots by making puzzles that change over time the main draw. The controls feel tight on the Switch, and the basic button layout and controls feel natural. This game is so many fun and challenging puzzles that it's worth buying just to keep your brain busy. Despite the fact that the story and action aren't as deep as they could be and that I got lost in the puzzles, I thought this was one of the best Switch games I'd played. Next up, Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition is an excellent addition to the Switch's game library. The game that helped shape the hack-and-slash genre is still a lot of fun to play, and Capcom demonstrates that they care about improving the experience rather than simply porting it by adding some new and unique modes. The Switch version allows for much cooler combos, and even if you don't like the game's graphics from 2005, you should give it a shot because this is the definitive version of DMC3. Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition is yet another excellent Switch port of a classic game. If you've ever been curious about the game or are a big fan, you should definitely check out this fantastic port. And last, but not the least, OKAMI HD. OKAMI HD is a lovely and enjoyable game. You can now use the Celestial Brush in 3 different ways, each of which has advantages over the other 2. OKAMI HD is a fantastic game with beautiful cel-shaded graphics, soothing music, and a pleasant pleasant atmosphere. Fans of the game, as well as those who have never played it before, should give it a try. OKAMI reminds us that video games are art because they offer something new and different from what I am used to seeing. It's a AAA-worthy visual and audio that will keep us on our toes the entire time. This game is recommended for anyone interested in Japanese art and culture. That's all guys. I hope this video was helpful in deciding which game to play, and thank you for checking out the list. Please remember to subscribe and we'll see you at the next one.